First story. My delusional son thought he had moved on from his cheating ex-girlfriend. So I took his ex to his wedding to make my son realize what he was missing. I thought he would divorce his new wife, but he kicked me and his ex out of the wedding. Now he is having a baby and refuses to let me be involved. I hope his marriage fails. This has turned into a bigger deal than I ever imagined. And now half my family is blowing up my phone saying I ruined the wedding. I'm still in shock that my son would actually kick me out. So I'm posting here because I need some outside opinions. I genuinely don't believe I did anything unforgivable. My son Eric 30M recently got married to Renee 29F. I've never had a good relationship with her. From the beginning, she came off very standoffish. Every time I tried to offer help, give suggestions, or even just get involved in things going on in Eric's life, she always had something to say. I kept trying to be polite, but it's like she didn't want me around unless I was completely silent. I'll admit, I'm not the type to just sit in the corner and nod. I speak my mind, especially when it comes to my kids. Maybe that rubbed her the wrong way, but I was never disrespectful. Renee and I were never close, but I always stayed civil. Now, I know what people are going to ask. Why would I bring Eric's ex, Kelsey, to the reception? That's the part no one can get over. And it sounds awful when you say it like that. But it's not that black and white. Eric dated Kelsey for 5 years. I adored her. She was kind, smart, and patient, and she actually treated our family like her family. She never acted like I was intruding when I came over, unlike Renee, who acts like she's doing me a favor just letting me sit on their couch. Kelsey would call me just to check in, invited me to lunch, and asked me for old recipes. She and Megan were close too. Even after the breakup, Megan stayed in touch with her behind Eric's back, which tells you how close we all were. Now, I'm not going to deny it. Kelsey cheated. That was how things ended. I was shocked when Eric told me, and of course I was hurt for him. But at the same time, I could see how miserable both of them were near the end. Eric was becoming distant, cold, and unmotivated. She made a mistake. She knows that. She's told me more than once how sorry she is, how stupid it was, and that she wishes she could take it back. And unlike other people, I believe in second chances when the relationship is real. Call me old-fashioned, but I don't think one mistake cancels out everything you've built together. People cheat for different reasons. Sometimes it's a wake-up call. Sometimes it's desperation. And in Kelsey's case, she was in therapy afterwards trying to work on herself. She didn't just shrug and move on. She reached out to me, told me how much she regretted everything, and said that Eric is still the love of her life. She's never dated anyone else seriously since. In her own words, she's been waiting for him to be ready to give her another shot. Of course, I didn't tell Eric any of this because I knew how he'd react. He's been stubborn about Renee since the beginning. He acts like she saved him from this horrible relationship. But I saw how dull and withdrawn he's become around her. I've brought it up to him before, asked if he was really happy, and he got defensive. Megan told me I needed to stop, but I don't see what's so wrong with caring about who your son ends up with for life. So yes, when the wedding rolled around, I had a choice to make. Eric had given me a +1. My husband couldn't attend due to health issues, and I knew Kelsey was still in love with Eric and wanted to be there, even if just from a distance. I asked her quietly if she'd want to come to the reception, not the ceremony. She hesitated at first, but eventually agreed. We came together. She didn't cause a scene. She sat at the table with me, my ex-husband, and his wife. My son noticed. As soon as he and Renee walked in after their photos, I saw Megan and one of Renee's bridesmaids rush over to them. Then Eric's face changed. He didn't cause a scene, but he walked straight over, pulled me and Kelsey aside, and told us to leave. No discussion. No asking. Just, you need to go. I tried to reason with him. I told him Kelsey came in peace, that she wasn't trying to sabotage anything, and that maybe one day he'd realize this marriage was a mistake. That Kelsey still loves him, and he was throwing away something real. He barely looked at me. He didn't raise his voice, but the way he shut me down felt worse. Then one of his friends came over and walked us out. I was humiliated. We didn't argue on the way out. Kelsey didn't say anything. She just looked down and walked with me to the car. That's what people don't get. She wasn't there to stir anything up. She didn't approach anyone, didn't interrupt speeches, and didn't even get up to use the bar. She sat quietly, watched Eric walk in with his new wife, and just stared for a few seconds. That's it. But somehow, according to everyone else, I'm the one who ruined the wedding. The next day, I heard nothing. No call, no text. Megan told me Eric didn't even want to talk about it. I figured maybe after the honeymoon, once things calmed down, we'd clear the air. Instead, I wake up a week later to dozens of messages from family cousins, my sister, even Eric's godparents, all saying I crossed a line. Some were polite. Others weren't. One cousin said she never expected me to pull something so vindictive. Another said I owed Renee an apology for trying to hijack her wedding. I wasn't expecting applause, but I also didn't think bringing someone who was once a huge part of our family, someone we all loved, would be treated like I brought a stranger off the street. This wasn't a stunt. I didn't stand up during the ceremony or give a speech. I didn't tell Kelsey to beg for him back. I thought it would just be a quiet moment, and maybe, if Eric saw her and felt something, he'd realize this wasn't the right path. Yes, she cheated. I know that's not a small thing. But people act like it was abuse or something unforgivable. It wasn't a pattern. It was one mistake in 5 years, and she owned up to it. Most people would have lied. She didn't. And the way Eric cut her off, no closure. No nothing, it just always felt wrong to me. Like he was running from it instead of processing what they really had. And I'll say it. I don't think Renee is right for him. Everything changed when she showed up. He became cold. He used to call me every week. That dropped to once a month. He stopped coming to family dinners. Anytime I asked about his life, she'd jump in to answer or steer the conversation. She always acted like she was guarding him. Maybe he needed that after what happened with Kelsey, but I also think it made him harder. He stopped laughing as much. Stopped asking me for advice. It feels like he's become someone I barely recognize. And it all happened once Renee became permanent in his life. Megan tells me to accept that he's an adult, and that not every family is close. But why wouldn't I fight to hold on if I feel like I'm losing my son? I wasn't going to beg or grovel for space in his life. I just hoped maybe, somehow, seeing Kelsey again would open a door. Instead, it closed one permanently. Eric hasn't spoken to me since. It's been 3 weeks. Megan told me he's considering going low contact. He thinks I did it on purpose to ruin his wedding. That couldn't be further from the truth. I didn't want to ruin anything. I wanted him to think. To feel something before locking himself into a marriage I don't believe in. Renee's fine. She's smart, she's polite. But she doesn't let anyone close. She's not warm. She's not welcoming. She's all surface. And that's what Eric has become too. Just distant and bland. Everyone's focusing on the ex being there, like it's some betrayal. No one is asking why it affected him that much. If he's so in love, why not just ignore her and keep moving? Why throw away your own mother over something that had no impact on the event itself? He didn't even stay mad at Kelsey, he stayed mad at me. I keep replaying it in my head. Was it wrong to bring her? Maybe. But do I think it was the worst thing in the world? No. I thought maybe seeing her again would shake something loose in him. And if it didn't, he could have just ignored it and gone on enjoying his night. Instead, I got thrown out of the reception like I was an uninvited guest at my own son's wedding. My husband thinks Eric overreacted. My sister says I made a mess and need to apologize. Megan won't even talk about it anymore. She says Eric is done, and that I need to stop pushing. But I don't think trying to protect someone from making a mistake is the same thing as sabotage. Everyone keeps saying it's his life, but no one seems to care that he's changed. That something in him dimmed when he moved on from Kelsey. So, Reddit. I know how this looks on paper. I know how it sounds. Mum brings son's cheating ex to his wedding reception and gets kicked out. But it wasn't that simple. I didn't scream. I didn't make a toast. I didn't even speak to Renee. I just brought someone who used to be part of our family. Someone who made a mistake, but still loves him deeply. And now I'm being erased like none of it ever mattered. Was I really so wrong, Aita? Comments. Comment 1. This wasn't a wedding you got kicked out of. This was your son drawing a line because you made it about you. Let's not play dumb here. You didn't quietly bring a +1. You brought the woman who cheated on him behind his back, hoping to shake something loose, like this was a Hallmark movie. That's manipulation, plain and simple. And don't give me that she sat quietly crap, her presence was the disruption. It didn't have to be dramatic to be disrespectful. You're acting like she's owed another chance just because you liked her. That's wild. You've been rooting against Renee from the beginning, so yeah, this feels intentional. You gambled his wedding night on the chance that he might suddenly change his mind. That's nuts. He didn't cut you off over nothing. He cut you off because you used the biggest day of his life to push your own agenda. And the worst part, you still don't seem sorry. You're doubling down, justifying it, and blaming him for changing. Newsflash, he grew up. You didn't. Comment 2. What the hell did you think was going to happen? Like, genuinely walk me through the brain process where you thought this wouldn't explode. You brought his ex-fiancée who cheated on him to his wedding reception. That's not just tone deaf. It's some next-level sabotage. And I don't even think you meant to be cruel. I think you're just so wrapped up in your own version of what's right for Eric that you stopped seeing him as a full-grown man with a right to live his own damn life. And Kelsey, she might be sweet, she might be sorry, but her moment passed. You can't just wedge her back into his story because you think he was happier then. That's not your call. You may have meant well, hell, maybe part of you thought it'd be some grand reunion moment, but it was selfish and, honestly, kind of messed up. If you wanted to support him, you would have just shown up, smiled, and clapped for him. Instead, you turned the whole thing into a what-if fantasy at the worst possible time. Not surprised he's cutting you off. I'd probably do the same. Comment 3. You want advice? Here it is. Stop romanticizing the past and start listening to the present. Eric isn't with Kelsey. He hasn't been for a long time. And yeah, she cheated. That's not just a mistake. That's a relationship-ending betrayal. You say she was working on herself, but did you ever ask if he wanted that door reopened? You clearly decided he didn't know what's best for himself. And it shows in every sentence. Renee might not be your cup of tea, but he chose her. That's it. You don't get to rewrite his story to fit your preferred cast. You had a +1 and could have brought a friend, cousin, or literally anyone else. You brought the one person guaranteed to reopen old wounds, not for his benefit, but to prove your point. You thought this was your shot to steer him back towards what you thought he needed. Instead, you proved why he doesn't trust your judgment. If you want any relationship with him going forward, you better stop defending your choices and start apologizing without excuses. Because if this is the hill you're choosing, you might be standing on it alone. Comment 4. What hurts me reading this is how little you seem to care about what Eric went through. Kelsey cheated, and instead of standing by him, you sided with her. You don't even try to imagine how that must have felt finding out the woman he loved betrayed him, and then learning his own mother still kept in touch with her like nothing happened. That's not just a bad decision, that's a fundamental breach of trust. You say Renee is cold. Maybe she doesn't trust you because she saw you never let go of the ex who hurt her husband. She probably picked up on all of this long before the wedding. And now, on one of the most important days of his life, you decided that was the moment to roll the dice. You say you didn't want to ruin anything, but you did. You pushed your idea of what's right and made it more important than his peace, his marriage, and his choice. The fact that you're still justifying it, still calling people dramatic, tells me you haven't learned anything. If I were him, I'd need a long break too. Maybe permanent. Update. I wasn't planning to come back, but things have gotten more complicated. I'm still shocked at the reaction I got from the first post. The comments were brutal. I know people think I crossed a line, but I truly believed I was acting from a place of love. I still do. Since the wedding, I haven't spoken to Eric directly. Megan gave me updates here and there, but it was clear he was holding a grudge. I figured it would wear off. We're family. He's my son. I've known him longer than Renee has even been in his life. I thought he'd come around. Instead, he made an announcement. A few days ago, he and Renee had dinner with Megan and a few other relatives. I wasn't invited, obviously. Megan texted me later that night and said they told everyone they're expecting a baby. Renee is around 12 weeks. Apparently, they were waiting for the end of the first trimester. I felt like someone hit me in the chest. This entire situation, the wedding, the distance, the coldness was already hard enough. But now there's a baby. A child being born into this mess. I had a full-on panic response. I messaged Eric that night, and yes, I reacted strongly. I said he was being reckless. That bringing a baby into this situation without repairing his relationship with his own mother was a huge mistake. I told him flat out, I won't be a grandmother to a child raised in a home that shuts me out. And I meant that. This isn't about punishment. This is about the kind of family environment I believe in. The idea of celebrating a child with someone like Renee, someone who's worked so hard to keep Eric from his roots, just feels wrong. He didn't even respond. Megan told me he blocked my number. Again. That should have been the end. But things got worse. My ex-husband Eric's father called me the next morning. Apparently, Eric told him that if I tried to contact either of them again, especially about the baby, he'd take legal steps to make sure I never got near their family. My ex said he doesn't agree with what I did at the wedding, but even he was surprised by how final Eric sounded, like the door was closed. And yet, he still hasn't said a word to me himself. It's all silence or filtered through Megan or others. After that, I tried to at least start clearing things up with extended family. I created a group chat with a few of our cousins, my sister, and a couple of close relatives who were at the wedding. My goal was to explain what happened, not to play victim or stir more trouble. I laid out my side how Kelsey had been important to our family, how she's grown, how she wanted closure, and wasn't there to cause a scene. I even mentioned how I thought Eric's reaction was more about Renee pressuring him than anything else. That chat did not go as expected. My niece told me I needed to let go of my fantasy and accept that Kelsey is part of the past. Another cousin asked me if I understood how much damage I'd caused by refusing to accept reality. Megan left the chat altogether. Eric never responded, but I know he saw screenshots because 2 days later, he removed me from all of his social media and changed his email. I'm completely shut out. And still, I don't regret bringing Kelsey. People keep saying it was inappropriate, but no one stops to ask why it still matters. Kelsey was more than just a girlfriend. She was like family. She is still family to me. That hasn't changed. We still talk. And she still hopes. She came to the wedding because she needed closure. But after seeing Eric again, she told me it reopened something. Not in a dramatic way, she knows he's married. But she also said she didn't feel a real connection between him and Renee. She watched them walk in, watched their body language, and told me she didn't feel it. And I believe her. Kelsey knows Eric. She's never stopped loving him. So when people say I'm holding on to something dead, they don't know the full story. This isn't me clinging to a fantasy. It's me recognizing what used to be, and what could still be if Eric had space to realize it. And yes, I'm aware of how that sounds now that Renee's pregnant. But I'm not celebrating it. I don't think this was planned. I think they're trying to patch holes in a shaky marriage. I said that in the group chat too. I didn't say it to be cruel. I said it because I know my son. He was never rushing to have children. He used to say he wanted to be a father after traveling, after figuring out his direction. This feels forced. And when things are forced, they break. Now I'm being told I won't be invited to the baby shower or to the hospital when the baby is born. Megan told me they're already discussing whether to tell the child about me at all. That I might be cut off permanently. And honestly, that's the part that's pushed me to a new level of grief. I've been dreaming of being a grandmother for years. I imagined baking with them, teaching them traditions from my side of the family. I imagined being the one they ran to after school. Now I'm being told I might never meet them. That hurts more than I can describe. Still, I'm not giving up. I'm planning a small gathering this spring, just family. I've invited a few cousins, my sister, and yes, Kelsey. No pretense. It's not a reunion or a peace talk. It's just something to bring people together again, remember old times, and maybe let Eric see that there's a world beyond what Renee has built around him. If he doesn't show, fine. If he does, even just for 10 minutes, maybe it'll crack the wall a bit. I've also been writing letters. Not the kind you send, just ones I keep. I've written 5 to the baby already. Someday, if the door opens, I want them to know I was never the enemy. That I cared enough to wait, even when I was pushed away. And yes, I've told Kelsey about the pregnancy. She cried. She still loves him. She isn't delusional. She knows he's not coming back tomorrow. But she also said she doesn't want to give up. She believes in him more than I think he believes in himself right now. She still sees the same person he was before Renee, the one who was warm, funny, and open. I won't be the one to tell her to let go. I won't be the one to kill that hope. Not while there's still a chance that time might change things. I've seen marriages fall apart for less. And I've seen people come back together when no one thought they would. So no, I don't have a happy ending. I don't have contact with my son. I don't have a place in this pregnancy. But I'm still here. I'm still the one who remembers who he was before all this. And maybe one day, he'll remember that too. This isn't over. Comments. Comment 1. You talk about family, tradition, and love, but you seem blind to the harm you're doing in the name of those things. You don't reflect. You rewrite. You keep saying, Kelsey still hopes, like it validates your behavior. But it doesn't. What about what Eric wants? You're treating him like he's lost or manipulated when really, he just outgrew your version of him. You don't want a relationship with his child, you want to be central again. You want the old dynamic where your opinions shaped his decisions. That's why you fixate on this fantasy of him with Kelsey. Because it lets you stay the hero in your own story. And the most tragic part is that you could have been part of this next chapter if you just showed up, smiled at the wedding, and respected his choices. But instead, you brought a living symbol of betrayal to his celebration and called it love. That's not care, that's denial. You may never get to be in that child's life. And the saddest thing is you'll probably keep blaming everyone but yourself. Comment 2. You sound obsessed. Not just with Kelsey, with control, with proving you were right. You've built this alternate reality where everyone around you is brainwashed except you. The problem is, Eric left a bad relationship, met someone else, committed to her, and you never accepted it. Now there's a baby, and instead of softening, you double down and call it a mistake. What kind of mother hears, "I'm having a child," and responds by telling their son to divorce and abort? That's unhinged. You're lucky he didn't file a restraining order. And Kelsey, sorry, but she's pathetic for still entertaining this. She had her shot, she blew it. And now she's enabling your delusions for crumbs of nostalgia. You say you're writing letters to a kid that might never know you. Maybe ask yourself why that's the case. Because you've turned this into a twisted mission. You're not a grieving mom. You're someone who burned her own family down and can't admit she lit the match. Comment 3. This post hit way too close. My mom pulled similar stunts for years. The thing you don't seem to grasp is that Eric didn't change, he grew the hell up. You just don't like that his adult identity isn't built around your opinions anymore. Kelsey isn't some wounded innocent. She made a choice that hurt him, and you decided that didn't matter because you liked her. Then you staged a one-woman intervention at his wedding reception, and got shocked when he cut you off. Now a baby's coming, and your reaction was to demand a divorce and say you won't accept the child. Seriously. You're trying to convince the world you're the wronged party when all you've done is bulldoze your son's boundaries and spit on his life choices. I get it. You miss feeling central. But you've turned your son's wedding, marriage, and now pregnancy into a theater for your disappointment. And somehow Kelsey's feelings, the person who cheated, matter more to you than the actual mother of his child. At this point, you're lucky if your grandkid even knows your name. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. I think this might be one of them. Comment 4. I don't know how else to say this, but you sound like you've fully lost the plot. You've somehow made your son's wedding, his wife, his child, and even his ex's emotions all about your hurt feelings. And it's exhausting. Do you even realize how insane it is to demand your son get a divorce and either give up his baby or abort? What even is that? You act like your disapproval gives you moral leverage. It doesn't. You're spiraling. And the worst part is you're dragging Kelsey with you, keeping her hope alive just so you don't feel alone in your weird crusade. She's not coming back. He's not changing his mind. You say you remember who he used to be, but maybe you're the one who hasn't changed. Everyone else grew up and moved on. You're sitting in a group chat defending a woman who cheated on your son and wondering why no one wants you around their kid. It's not subtle. It's not confusing. It's just sad. If you really love Eric, stop trying to rewrite his life and figure out how to fix your own. Before there's nothing left to fix. Update. I'm posting again because what happened after my last update feels unreal. And I'm sitting alone in a house that suddenly feels too quiet. I don't know if this is for judgment anymore or just to put everything in one place before I completely lose my grip on it. After the pregnancy announcement, I spiraled. I won't deny that. I felt pushed out, erased, replaced. I kept thinking that if I could just prove something was wrong, if I could show that this was rushed or built on shaky ground, Eric would stop and rethink everything. I started by reaching out to Renee's past. I found an old profile of someone who dated her years ago and sent a message framed as concern. I didn't accuse her of anything outright. I asked general questions about what she was like in relationships. I wanted context. That backfired immediately. He responded once, short and direct, telling me to leave him alone. Within hours, Eric knew. I don't know if Renee told him first, or if the man forwarded screenshots. But Eric sent a single email telling me to stop inserting myself into their marriage. Nothing else. Instead of stopping, I doubled down. I called the medical office Renee was using. I didn't ask for test results or private information. I asked administrative questions about timelines, about appointments, and about due dates. I thought if I could show inconsistencies, people would listen. The office shut the conversation down quickly. 2 days later, Eric's father called me, furious, saying the clinic had flagged my number and informed Eric and Renee. He told me I crossed into dangerous territory. That was the first time he used the word legal. Around this time, I realized I was being shut out of information completely. I didn't know appointment dates, baby shower plans, or even whether they'd chosen names. I panicked and made another mistake. I reached out to a younger cousin I'd always been close with and asked if she could keep me in the loop. I offered help, small gifts and favors. She agreed at first. It lasted less than a week. Megan found out and tore into her. Everything stopped after that. Megan hasn't spoken to me since. Then came the incident with the gift. I ordered a box of baby items, clothes, books, keepsakes. I addressed it to Kelsey because, in my head, she was still the person I associated with Eric's future. I told myself I'd give it to her to hold on to, Something for someday. Somehow, it was delivered to Eric and Renee's address instead. I still don't understand how the shipping error happened. Renee opened it. Eric showed up at my house 2 days later and left the unopened box on the porch. He didn't come inside. He didn't say a word. He just left it there like evidence. That same week, I made comments at a family gathering about the timing of the pregnancy. I said it felt suspicious. I implied Eric had been rushed into something permanent to keep him locked in. I didn't realize someone recorded me until my sister called, livid, asking what the hell I was thinking. That recording made its way back to Eric too. After that, everything collapsed fast. I was contacted by Renee's workplace. Not to accuse me of anything directly, but to inform me that my call had been logged, and that further contact would be considered harassment. I honestly hadn't thought that message I sent would be traced so clearly. I believed I was being cautious. I was wrong. Then I tried one last thing. I called the hospital where the delivery was planned and asked to be listed as an emergency contact in case something went wrong. I said I was the mother and needed to be reachable. That call triggered something bigger than I expected. Eric and Renee filed paperwork to make it clear I was not to be contacted or involved. A week later, I was served with a restraining order. Seeing my son's name on legal documents against me broke something inside my chest. I thought that would be the bottom. It wasn't. Kelsey left town. She came to my house. She looked exhausted. Smaller somehow. She said she couldn't do this anymore. She told me watching the pregnancy progress felt like watching a life she thought was hers play out without her. She said seeing baby clothes, hearing updates, and imagining Eric with someone else were ruining her ability to move forward. She told me she needed to disappear for a while. Start fresh. She said staying connected to me kept her trapped in grief. Then she said something that hurt more than I expected. That loving Eric meant letting go, and that she wished I could do the same. She left the next morning. Changed her number. Closed or blocked social media. I've tried calling mutual friends. No one knows where she went. Or they know and won't tell me. I don't know which is worse. Now I'm alone in this. Truly alone. My husband has had enough. He told me I'd gone too far weeks ago. But after the restraining order, he stopped being gentle. He said I'd destroyed my relationship with my son through obsession and denial. He said I embarrassed him, scared people, and crossed lines that can't be erased. He took a bag and moved in with his brother for now. He hasn't told me if he's coming back. I walk through the house, and every room feels like an accusation. I replay moments and wonder where exactly I tipped from concern into something else. I still believe Eric is making a mistake, but now even that belief feels hollow without Kelsey here. I pushed so hard to protect what I thought was right that I lost the one person who agreed with me. I tried to track her down last night. I hate admitting that. I checked old addresses, called workplaces, and searched online. Nothing. She's gone. And I think she meant it when she said she couldn't watch this anymore. The baby, the marriage, all the things she thought were taken from her. Eric won't speak to me. Renee won't speak to me. Megan won't speak to me. My husband barely does. The restraining order makes everything final in a way I wasn't prepared for. I tell myself this is temporary. That time changes things. That people calm down. But sitting here tonight, I don't know if I believe that anymore. I feel foolish. I feel betrayed. I feel replaced by people who moved on faster than I could tolerate. If there's one thing I didn't expect, it's that I'd lose everyone I was trying to hold on to. I don't know what comes next. I just know this isn't how I imagined my life ending up. Comments. Comment 1. This wasn't some mother caught in a whirlwind of emotion. You ran a multi-stage campaign to sabotage your son's life. You stalked his wife's past, tried to weaponize pregnancy rumors, pulled strings through family members like a chessboard, and practically begged a woman who cheated on him to stay in orbit, just so you wouldn't have to accept your new reality. I feel worse for Renee than anyone in this. She got married knowing you disliked her, got pregnant, and immediately had to deal with this twisted revenge plot disguised as grief. You want to be in that baby's life. For what? So you can poison them against their mom or cry about how the wrong woman won? You weren't just disrespectful, you were dangerous. You crossed into hospitals, workplaces, and legal systems, trying to rattle a stable marriage until someone cracked. And now everyone's gone and you want pity. Sorry, but this isn't grief. This is ego. You wanted everyone to orbit you, and when they didn't, you lit a fuse and stood there crying when it blew up. I hope that restraining order holds. That child deserves peace, and peace means you staying far, far away. Comment 2. You thought you were preserving something sacred, but what you really did was try to rebuild a life that no longer belonged to you. The second Eric made a choice that didn't align with yours. You turned it into a personal betrayal. It stopped being about love the moment you weaponized access to his past, to Kelsey, to his future child. You made motherhood a performance, not a relationship. And now it's all scorched. The worst part, you still frame yourself as a casualty instead of the one holding the torch. You don't get to demand access to someone's family after poking holes in every layer of their stability. You weren't locked out. You dug a moat around yourself and dared them to cross it. And now you're shocked no one's coming. Honestly, Kelsey leaving was the one merciful thing in this entire mess. At least she saw the wreckage and decided to stop sitting in it. I don't know if you'll ever get your son back. But if you do, it won't be through nostalgia or guilt. It'll be if you finally shut the hell up and sit with the consequences. Alone, like you chose to be. Comment 3. You made this mess so theatrical. It's hard to believe it wasn't scripted. Tracking down Renee's ex, calling her doctor, trying to babysit a baby you're legally barred from seeing. That's not hurt. That's some Lifetime movie meltdown energy. And what's wild is that you had chance after chance to stop. Even after the wedding stunt, you could have apologized. Like, truly apologized. But instead you doubled down so hard you actually drove Kelsey out of town. That woman cheated. And even she still handled this better than you. She recognized the damage, got out, and took her grief with her. Meanwhile, you're sitting here writing someday letters to a kid whose parents want nothing to do with you, pretending it's noble instead of tragic. The kicker, you still sound more sad about losing Kelsey than your own grandchild. That says everything. You weren't fighting for a family, you were fighting to stay relevant in a life that moved on without you. And now it has. Harsh truth. If you want back in, you've got to sit in the wreckage and own every twisted step that brought you here. Until then, enjoy the silence. You earned it. Second story. My girlfriend made me realize I was sod and gave me hope. Now she has stopped all intimacy with me without any reason and claims she isn't cheating. Should I end our relationship? I want to start off by saying that I know that I'm on an old NFW account and that we're a very young couple, so it might not be taken as seriously as other relationships. We've recently hit 8 months together, and she's the woman of my dreams, but I've been so afraid recently. I don't really have anyone to talk about it with in life, as friends, trusted people have been getting busy with their own lives, so it might be a long read, but TLDR at the end, and I apologize for the formatting, obviously on mobile. I met this girl a while back in high school, and we've been friends since then. But life happens, and we kind of grew apart. But fate brought us back together, and now we're in a relationship. I've never been so happy with another person before, and she's changed my life for the better. But recently I've been feeling a bit down. A lot of backstory from my personal experience. But this is what matters. My first girlfriend was a mixed experience, and it ended very ugly. I'm cutting off a lot of details since I'd rather not talk about her. But long story short, she cheated on me after or maybe before. I don't really want to find out, forcing me to have sex. I never told anyone about this until I met my girlfriend, and she made me understand that I was sod. My girlfriend helped me figure things out and be more open about intimacy, and she helped me out so much. I've been really respectful about her boundaries, and I always ask for consent before anything physical happens. She has told me before that I wouldn't have to ask since I ask every time before sex. But I personally can't and won't do that, as I'll always ask for her consent. We've been very sexually active, and it made me more confident with myself. But that changed around 2 months ago. One day, she just stopped being in the mood. I didn't hold anything against her since it's her body, and she has every right to say no. I hadn't asked for intimacy when I noticed she wasn't in the mood anymore. And I don't mean to say anything negative about her at all. But I was at my peak, so to speak, in terms of being sexually active. And getting rid of it very suddenly made me lose a lot of confidence. I do love her and all, and after talking about it, she said she's going to save it for marriage from that point on. I accepted it, and I feel like I've been doing just a bit better, but still feel sexually frustrated. That doesn't mean I'm not happy with her, as I just adore every single little thing about her, and I love spending time with her. It was hard at first getting rid of a habit since intimacy was like a big part of our relationship. But that doesn't mean it was the one thing holding us together. I've been trying to find ways to suppress that feeling through working out or going back to old hobbies, but working out usually intensifies my desire for intimacy, which sucks, as I'm trying to gain more confidence, and the feeling still lingers. I don't want her for her body, but I just miss that intimacy so much. About a week or two ago, she said that she might soon stop every form of intimacy, like kissing, cuddling, holding hands, etc. I didn't show it to her, but it broke me so bad. I remember going home, and admittedly, I cried myself to sleep. and my mood was off for a few days. My mood is now somewhat decent, but I feel a bit emotional as I'm typing this. I love this woman for who she is and how she's been with me through everything. But I don't see myself lasting without any form of intimacy until marriage. We're very young, and the thought of waiting years before having any form of physical contact has been eating me alive for the past week or so. She does love me very much, but I've been so confused. Why be so intimate if it's supposed to be for marriage only? Again, I adore this woman with everything, but I've been so hesitant to admit that I don't see it working if there's no form of intimacy for the next few years. I don't feel trapped in our relationship, but I would feel so bad if I left. She's helped me through the worst of times and made me into a better person by pursuing my dreams and goals. I've always been there for her when no one was there to support her, and helped her through the hardest times of her life, both current and past. I feel like I'm heavily overthinking too much about this. I love her so much, but why am I having doubts about our future? If I were to leave, would she think I only wanted her for her body? Can I really hide my desire for intimacy for so long? Will our relationship last longer? So many more questions that overwhelm me both emotionally and physically. I've been so clingy with her recently, always cuddling with her, kissing her, holding her, and taking naps with her. But I'm afraid that I'm only rushing the process of getting rid of all that. She's told me so many times that it's not because of me, but it's just something that's reserved for marriage. I'm at such a huge low point right now. I love her so much and don't want to let go. But at the same time, everything that brought us closer together is fading. Is it okay to overthink so much about this? How much longer can I go with no form of intimacy between us? I love her very much, but I'm afraid that she'll think I only wanted her for her body if I do break things off. Any advice? TLDR. Girlfriend cut off sexual intimacy, as it's only meant for marriage in her eyes. Now she's cutting off any form of intimacy soon, for the same reasoning. I've been so conflicted and distraught recently, and trying to find ways to save our relationship. Comments. Comment 1. She's was a day too young to pull this card. After having a healthy, adult, intimate relationship, and just out of the blue nailing up stop signs all over the house, I'd wonder really hard about there being someone else. She lets you look through her phone. Why would you want to go through it? That screams of insecurity and being a tad controlling. And if you do a lot of self-reflecting, you might see this. This also may be part of the halt in the intimacy. You want to counter everything that anyone says regarding why she might be doing this. But why? The level of intensity in your relationship is kind of scary. I'm not saying anything bad about either of you, but this is not healthy at all. What if she breaks up with you? How would you handle this? With what you say, it sounds like you wouldn't or couldn't accept this. If she is committed to staying with you, I think you both need counseling. It says more about you if you do, truly. OP again, I misworded things, but I don't ask to go through her phone. She says I'm open to seeing it whenever I want to. And I've only done it once recently to see if there was really someone else, but didn't find anything at all. Being honest with you, I didn't realize I'm countering what anyone says. I think I'm just in denial about our relationship ending, and maybe I'm just trying to defend her. I do care about her so much, and she's helped me become a better person, but I don't want it to end. Comment 2. I get it, I do. But I think I'm right in saying you are grasping at straws here to hold on to something unhealthy. Whether she's cheating or not, something's going on, and withholding any and all intimacy from you is not normal. I think it's time to get out before you're in so deep you become a crazed stalker when it ends. Trust me, if she is cheating, telling you to look through her phone says she's not keeping anything incriminating on it. OP again, being honest with you, I am grasping at straws. I know I have been out of this relationship ever since she stopped intimacy, but I really don't know why I still want to be with her. Again, I don't think she is cheating, but who knows? Do you think trying to ask why every form of intimacy is going to stop again is a good idea? Or would it just create more problems? Comment 3. Hell no, ask her. Having a really frank discussion is what you need. No condemnations, no anger, nothing. No matter what either of you say, just be honest. You can't make her be honest, but you should. It's just not normal. I'd feel different if you were both in a religious sect and were brought up to feel this way. But you didn't say anything about that, so I'm guessing no. You are still so damn young, and I promise you, you will find someone who will share your values, wants, and needs. Thank her for everything she did for you, and take those lessons with you when you walk out the door. You might get some head games from her when you do, but you have to be true to yourself. Trust me, this will become a bigger issue, and you will end up resenting her for it. Why go through all that when you're clearly not happy now? I just had to watch my 32-year-old son get his world rocked last year, and it sucked. He was with his wife for 9 years and married for 2 years and 3 weeks. He came home from his late hockey game, and she said, "I'm done. I'm tapping out." Boom. His world was shattered. She had the papers the next week, and they were divorced 4 months later. Now she says she's made a mistake. Oops, that's not a mistake. That's a major effing issue. Don't end up with your world shattered like his was, just saying. OP, thank you, man. From what I understand, she's a bit religious. And that's why I understand the sexual intimacy being for marriage. But just no intimacy at all is very confusing. I used to be religious, but I had a really bad experience at church that made me lose faith in God, and I began to have doubts. You're right that I should have a talk ASAP. I mean, I'm kind of a mess already at the moment. And reading your comment just made me think of how much worse it'll be if I let it drag on. I don't want to resent her at all. She's been a huge help with getting my SHT together in life up until recently. Comment 4. Okay, first off, you're getting a woman's perspective from me, so no one can say it was a guy thing. I have just never tolerated either ex doing something harmful in a relationship to their partners. If that's what she wants, then she should not be in a relationship at all or find someone with those core values to date. It does not make you a bad person for not being able to handle this sudden switch. Look, guys like SX, women like SX, and she went from all out to full stop. There is a reason for this. You're just not getting the real one. OP, I didn't mean any offense, so my bad. Going back to it though, I feel like I'm going to have a talk with her and might end things with her. Maybe I just have trauma, but I'm afraid of being seen as a bad person as to why we broke up. Update. It's been a rough week. Thank you to everyone who helped me figure things out and finally stand up. She's handling it way better than I am, which I'm thankful for. Anyways, back to the main thing. We met up at a Starbucks nearby, got our coffee and sat in the car. I told her I wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind for a while, and I think she knew what I was going to say. I held her hand the whole time and told her I wasn't mad or upset at her, but there have been some things lingering on my mind. First off, with the no sexual intimacy part of the story. There was no cheating at all involved, and if I'm going to be honest with you guys, having that thought mentioned destroyed me mentally, and I hate that it was brought up in the first place. Again, someone on my last post was right, and it was a religious decision, although not by her. Her parents found out that we were being intimate quite often, and according to her, they threatened to tell the church and have them intervene. Before I start, I'm not making this into a religious hate post. I'm going to be honest, I've never been a big fan of church. Sure, I don't mind religion, and I don't doubt that there are some good churches, but I feel like that's where some of that Christian hate comes from. Her parents are very controlling of her when it comes to her personal life, even financially as well. Now for the no intimacy at all, things got a bit confusing. She said she only brought it up because of a bad experience she had with an ex and thought it was normal to do in a relationship. Think of it like fights when both sides want some time apart, she thought. She needed to say that part. I just told her that she could have told me she wanted time apart instead of saying no more intimacy. I also asked her if I messed up at any point in our relationship. She said I didn't, but there have been a few disagreements between us, but it never impacted our relationship. I asked if I was too much for her, and she said only sometimes. After that, she started talking a lot about her life being constantly busy and her parents never giving her freedom, school being too much, and personal life getting overwhelming at times. At that time, I knew she wasn't ready for a relationship. I let her finish talking, and I told her that things weren't working out. She cried for a while and told me not to leave her, as she doesn't have anyone else. I told her we can still talk, but our relationship can't last much longer if we keep being this way. I told her that even if we still stayed together, it would have ended way worse, and we would go no contact. She cried for a bit more, and I held her close while trying to comfort her. I'm really hoping she's not holding out for hope in the future. I told her that I had no regrets at all about our relationship, that I enjoyed the trips we took around the state, and that I would do it all over again. I think I effed up by telling her that, but what's done is done. Before she left, I let her calm down a bit and told her everything would be fine. I gave her a hug and kissed her, and we went our separate ways. Honestly, I only text her to see how she's doing, and she only texts me for any questions she didn't have a chance to bring up. But she's been handling it way better than I am. I've been feeling alone for the past week, and as one commenter mentioned on my last post, I am attached to her. I've been doing a few things to keep my mind busy, and it does help every now and then, but other than that I feel alone. My friends are out of state, and for some reason, my only friend that stayed here has been avoidant. Anyways, it's going to be rough in the near future, but everything should be okay. Comments. Comment 1. Sounds like you should just be friends. OP. We decided we're going that route. Obviously not right away. We're still working through things, but we've always worked great as friends. Comment 2. Unilaterally cutting off intimacy, a very important part of any healthy relationship, is toxic and manipulative behavior. I'm not sure how her parents' church found out you guys were being intimate. Her parents sound crazy as all get out. But if she's not willing to fight for your relationship as is and just bends to the will of her parents, and then makes you suffer for it, that's not at all good for a relationship. Pretty much shows you where you stand in the relationship, and how she'll just bend to the will of her parents anytime they don't like anything with the relationship. All in all, it just wouldn't be good to stay. And you made a good decision. OP. Their church hasn't found out. Her parents just threatened to tell them if she didn't stop. Again, that's also been an issue as well. I mean, I understand up to a certain point, but she does need to stand up. Her parents are crazy and always threaten to kick her out, which she doesn't know if it's just a threat or if they mean it. But it also gives her parents the idea that I'm not good for her, and she did try to defend me, but it's been far too late for that. Comment 3. What happens if they tell the church? She may just decide to not go there anymore. I mean, we live in the 21st century. OP. I think she's just scared of the humiliation, which I don't blame her for. Sure, she's religious and stuff, and I don't mind at all. Church is a big part of her life, and switching to another one might be rough on her. That's just my view, and honestly I haven't asked too much about that. Comment 4. She is allowed to choose between church and sex. You are allowed to choose between a sex-less relationship and ending it. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.